And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Fantasy Frontier. This is from Gamelyn Games, and this is a game about dirigibles searching and establishing land. For some reason, I haven't played any, or maybe I played some, I don't know, good dirigible games, so hopefully this one will break the streak. Gamelyn Games is certainly known for the really cool wooden pieces that they make. They make some really cool ones. Let's take a look at this. The board of the game is set up with each player putting a couple tiles out. There's different terrain type tiles here. You can see there's water and forest and mountains and plains. And you're also going to have your airship flying around as time goes by. You have a board for your airship. Each airship looks slightly different, and there are special abilities for each airship. But they're kind of a minor special ability. Like this one, the red one's a +1 defense. The green one here, you can hold up to 4 research cards. Now each of these spots is this is basically to be your turn. You have 5 workers, and you're going to put them on the different spots to show what actions you're taking that turn. If there's more than one spot of an action, for example, dropping troops onto the ground, you can send all 5 guys to do that. While if you want to attack another ship, well, actually you can use all 5 guys to do that too, but if you're going to do research, there's only room for 3 guys for that. So each of these actions, and the actions have 1, 2, or 3 dots on them. And what that does is it tells you what order. You do all the 1 actions first, then the 2 actions, then the 3 actions. Now, if you have any tiles in your hand, one of the actions lets you go through the bag and get more tiles. It's a scouting action. You can add these to the board. And what you're trying to do with these tiles that you're adding to the board is there's 2 things. One, adding tiles to the board is a good way to find the resources that you might need. But also, each player is going to have these cards here. And if you can get this exact pattern and get your ship over this, you'll get 4 points. And I mean, you can rotate it to different ways. And some of these patterns, the bigger patterns, which are harder to do, they will allow you to get more points. When you get this, you put them in front of you. 40 points is how you win the game. And so that's a major way to get points. Another way to get points, and you get 10 points for this, is by dropping off a settlement. You need to drop a bunch of guys in the ground and build the settlement. The settlement costs 2 wood, 2 iron, and 2 gold. And so those are resources that you will find as the game progresses. The other resources you can find are fish and turkey legs. Both delicious resources, I'm sure. And those are used to do different things. Turkey legs basically give you re-rolls when you're rolling dice, or redraws when you're drawing cards. Fish lets you take an action with a guy who's already gone. Now you get these resources by dropping guys in the ground and basically looking for resources. On the plains, you simply get a turkey leg. Turkeys are running around, they're easy to capture. But when you, that's on the plains and the yellow. But when you land on the green, the brown, or the blue, you roll a die, and the dice show you what you get. For example, the green die will give you a turkey leg, it will give you a wood, it will give you a wood and a turkey leg, it will give you diddly squat, or that's basically it. A wood, turkey leg, or both, or nothing. And so that's how each of the different places go. Other actions, you can attack someone else's ship, which means you'll need to use some guys to repair it. And there are especially cool orange tokens for attacking someone else's ship. And that's basically the game. You're going to keep going until someone gets to 40 points. You're going to be trying to build the patterns and maneuver tiles to the spots. There are some special research cards that when you draw them, instead of it being a pattern, it's a special ability. Like if I have an advanced cartography, I get an extra victory point every time I score a map card. I get a repair kit. I can remove 2 damage tokens. If you don't like the special ability on these, you can always trade them in for resources instead. Here I can now assign up to 3 workers to scout rather than 2. Or I could pilot my airship 1 to 4 terrain spaces as I move my airship around. So that's essentially the game. There is some maneuvering with these airships because that's where you drop off workers and you need to score your areas. And other than that, most of the action is going to take place on your player board, putting the people on the different actions. Now this game's really interesting to me because there's a lot of interesting ideas. There's the whole pattern matching, put out the tiles and try to find a pattern, and that's nothing new. There's games that do that, but that's interesting. There's the rolling the dice for resources, something I like, but something people who hate rolling dice will have a problem with. Just keep those turkey legs around so you can re-roll the dice. The different worker actions is interesting, but for some reason the whole thing just didn't gel into an interesting game for me. And in fact, I found myself kind of bored waiting for other people to take their turns because what they did could conceivably really mess me up. There's one kind of flaw to the game, I think, and I'm not completely sold on this, but it feels there's only so many of these technology cards, and the technology cards can be really, really useful. Some of them are much better than other ones. The Farsight, for example, which lets you score a map card without being on the pattern. Well, that's really powerful. It means you don't have to worry about moving your ship much anymore. You get yourself into a good spot, and that just is really cool. And if I draw it and you don't, well, ha ha ha. And it's possible for a couple players, especially if you're playing the full complement of 4 players, to draw a bunch of the technology cards, which seemingly gives them an advantage over their opponents. Now, I did like the making the base. You got to get the resources. Once you drop this down, it gives you that resource all the time rather than you having to roll for it. The attacking the other ships, now you guys know my reviews. You know I love nailing people to the wall. It's so much fun to attack other players. And this game, it just really felt a dud for me. It felt like attacking someone else took away from me doing what I was doing. Like, okay, I can attack someone else. All right, fine, but that distracts. And if someone attacks you, it's a pain in the neck. It didn't seem to fit this brand of game at all. So, I think some people will like this game. There's some interesting concepts in here, to be sure. It felt like there was almost too many disconnected things. I'm putting all my workers here. That's a cool concept. And then I get to move on the map and match patterns. That's a different concept. And then I can attack the other ships. Well, but none of that really, it didn't flow together as well. Some of those things I think could have been axed to make a more streamlined, better game. So this one is just a miss for me. I don't think it's a bad game. I didn't hate playing it, but it just kind of felt slow and a little sluggish. And in the end, it just didn't give me any kind of satisfying fun that I was really looking for. But I did like a lot of the ideas, and I hope to see them used in other games. And if there's one more minor thing, the ship board, as cool as that is to put the pieces on, ended up being more of a confusing thing. Every time I taught new people, there's the 1 dots and the 2 dots and the 3 dots, and what do each of these symbols mean? They're over here. Okay, but they're not in the same order as when you can do them, which didn't make a lot of sense. And here's one that's not even on the board. It was just a little confusing, I think. This is a really neat concept, but I think it could have been done in a better way, maybe with a bigger board.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.